Imagine this. The ground is shaking beneath you, the sea is raging, and in the middle of the chaos, nuclear reactors start to fail. The date, March 11th, 2011. The place, Japan. It was a day that began like any other, with the sun rising over the Pacific, casting its golden light across the islands. In cities and towns across the country, people were starting their routines. Children heading to school, shopkeepers opening their doors, fishermen preparing their boats for the day's catch. There was no warning, no sign in the sky or on the ground that this would be a day that would change the course of history for an entire nation. The world watched unaware as Japan moved through the motions of a typical Friday morning. But beneath the surface, deep within the Earth's crust, unimaginable forces were building, waiting for the moon to unleash their fury. At exactly 2:46 p.m. local time, the ground began to tremble. What started as a subtle vibration quickly escalated into a violent, relentless shaking. A massive 9.0 magnitude earthquake, one of the strongest ever recorded in human history, struck off the northeastern coast of Honshu, Japan's largest island. The earth roared and heaved, buildings swayed like trees in a storm, and the very ground seemed to ripple like the surface of the sea. In Tokyo, hundreds of kilometers from the epicenter, skyscrapers groaned and swayed, their steel frames creaking under the strain. In Sendai, closer to the heart of the quake, streets cracked open, power lines snapped, and the world seemed to tilt on its axis. For 6 long minutes, the earth refused to be still. People clung to each other, to doorways, to hope. The shaking was so intense that even the most earthquake-hardened citizens of Japan were left breathless, their nerves frayed by the relentless force of nature. In those moments, time seemed to stretch, every second an eternity, as the world was thrown into chaos. When the shaking finally stopped, a stunned silence fell over the land. The damage was immense. Buildings that had stood for decades were reduced to rubble. Roads buckled and split apart. Fires broke out in neighborhoods, fueled by ruptured gas lines. In the immediate aftermath, people emerged from their shelters, blinking in the dust-filled light, trying to comprehend the devastation around them. Emergency services rushed to respond, but the scale of the disaster was overwhelming. In some places, entire communities were cut off, isolated by collapsed bridges and impassable roads. The people of Japan, so often tested by the forces of nature, faced yet another trial. But even as they began to assess the damage, to search for survivors, and to comfort the injured, a new and even greater threat was already on its way, one that would dwarf even the destruction of the earthquake itself. The real disaster wasn't the earthquake itself. It was what came after that changed everything. Far out at sea, the sudden shift of the Earth's crust had displaced an unimaginable volume of water, sending a series of massive tsunami waves hurtling toward the Japanese coastline at the speed of a jetliner. Within minutes, tsunami warnings blared across the region, urging people to flee to higher ground. But for many, there was little time to react. The first wave struck with terrifying force, sweeping away everything in its path: homes, cars, entire neighborhoods. The water surged inland, flooding streets, toppling buildings, and leaving a trail of devastation that stretched for miles. In the chaos, families were separated, communities were shattered, and the true scale of the disaster began to unfold. Emergency responders risked their lives to save others, braving the rising waters and collapsing structures. The world watched in shock and sorrow as images of the destruction filled television screens and news feeds. In the days and weeks that followed, Japan would face one of the greatest challenges in its history, a test of resilience, unity, and hope in the face of unimaginable loss. This was the beginning of a tragedy that would touch not only Japan, but the entire world. In the blink of an eye, the world changed forever for the people living along Japan's eastern coast. It was March 11th, 2011, a day that began like any other, but would soon be etched into history as one of the most devastating natural disasters ever recorded. Just minutes after a massive undersea earthquake struck off the coast of Tohoku, a colossal tsunami was unleashed, racing across the Pacific Ocean at terrifying speeds. The wall of water, in some places reaching heights of over 40 meters, bore down on the Japanese shoreline with unstoppable force. As the tsunami approached, warning sirens wailed and emergency alerts flashed across television screens and mobile phones. Residents had only moments to react. Some scrambled to higher ground, clutching loved ones and whatever belongings they could carry. Others, caught off guard by the sheer speed and scale of the disaster, found themselves trapped as the water surged inland. The tsunami struck with a deafening roar, swallowing entire towns, sweeping away homes, vehicles, and infrastructure in a matter of seconds. Streets that had been bustling with life just moments before were now unrecognizable, submerged beneath a churning sea of debris. The destruction was almost unimaginable. In city after city, the relentless waves battered buildings, toppled power lines, and shattered roads. Boats were hurled far inland, and entire neighborhoods were reduced to piles of rubble. The force of the water was so great that it even shifted massive ships and freight containers, scattering them like toys. For many, there was no time to escape. The tsunami claimed Tausan Aflasalosalis, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak and loss. But the disaster did not end there. Among the many sites devastated by the tsunami was the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, a critical facility located right on the coast. As the waves crashed over the plant's protective seawalls, they flooded the lower levels, knocking out backup generators and cutting off power to the cooling systems. This set off a chain reaction of events that would soon escalate into a nuclear crisis, compounding the tragedy and spreading fear not just across Japan, but around the world. In the aftermath, emergency responders and volunteers rushed to the affected areas, searching for survivors and providing aid to those in need. The scale of the destruction was overwhelming, and the challenges seemed insurmountable. Yet, amid the chaos and devastation, stories of courage and resilience began to emerge. Communities came together to support one another, and the world watched in awe as Japan faced the unimaginable with strength and determination. The tsunami of March 11, 2011 was a stark reminder of nature's power and unpredictability. It left an indelible mark on Japan and the global community, forever changing the lives of those who experienced it firsthand. And at the heart of the disaster, the crisis at Fukushima Daiichi would soon become a symbol of both the dangers and the responsibilities that come with harnessing nuclear energy. The tsunami waves destroyed the power systems, shutting down the cooling mechanisms. Temperatures began to rise dangerously, and within hours, 3 reactors exploded, one after another. Radioactive materials leaked into the air, and over 150,000 people had to be evacuated. The world watched in shock, asking, "Is this another Chernobyl?" The damage was massive and overwhelming. But thanks to Japan's quick response and discipline, the worst was contained. Though, radiation effects lingered for many years afterward. The Fukushima disaster was a harsh reminder. No matter how advanced our technology is, nature will always have the final word. If this story caught your attention and you found yourself drawn into the world of real-life disasters that have shaped our history, then you're in the right place. Our channel is dedicated to bringing you the most compelling, true accounts of events that have left a lasting mark on humanity. By subscribing, you'll never miss an opportunity to learn about the moments that have changed the course of our world. Sometimes in the blink of an eye, sometimes over years of unfolding tragedy. So, if you're fascinated by the power of nature, the resilience of people, and the lessons we can learn from the past, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. It's the best way to stay connected with a community of curious minds who, just like you, want to understand the stories behind the headlines. And don't forget to tap the like button if you enjoyed this video or found it thought-provoking. Your support helps us reach more viewers and motivates us to keep researching, scripting, and producing these in-depth explorations of history's most significant disasters. Every like, every subscription, and every share helps us grow and ensures that we can continue to bring you high-quality content week after week. But we don't just want to talk at you, we want to hear from you. The comment section is where our community comes alive, and your voice truly matters. Have you ever experienced a disaster firsthand, or do you have a personal connection to one of the stories we've covered? Maybe you have a question about something you saw in this video, or perhaps you want to share your own thoughts and insights. Whatever it is, we encourage you to join the conversation below. Your comments not only help us understand what you're interested in, but they also help us create better, more relevant content for you and everyone else who watches. And here's a question for you. What should our next deep dive be about? We're always looking for suggestions from our viewers, because at the end of the day, this channel is for you. Should the next video be about the haunting legacy of Chernobyl, the site of the world's worst nuclear disaster, where a single night changed the fate of an entire region and left scars that are still visible today? Or would you rather see us explore the devastating Beirut Explosion of 2020, a tragedy that shook a city to its core and captured the world's attention with its shocking scale and aftermath? Let us know in the comments which story you want to see next, and don't be shy about sharing why you think it's important. Maybe you have a personal connection, or maybe you just want to learn more about the science, the people, or the lessons behind these events. Your input will help shape the direction of our channel, and we can't wait to read your thoughts. Both Chernobyl and the Beirut Explosion are stories of unimaginable tragedy, but also of resilience, recovery, and the search for answers. Chernobyl, with its abandoned towns and haunting exclusion zone, stands as a stark reminder of the dangers of nuclear power and the importance of transparency and safety. The Beirut Explosion, on the other hand, is a modern catastrophe that unfolded in real time, with social media capturing every moment and the world watching as the city was forever changed. Each story offers unique lessons about human error, government responsibility, and the strength of communities in the face of disaster. By voting in the comments, you're not just helping us choose a topic, you're helping us decide which lessons to explore, which voices to amplify, and which stories to tell next. So take a moment to subscribe, like, and comment below. Join our growing community of disaster history enthusiasts and be part of the conversation that helps us all learn from the past, understand the present, and prepare for the future. We're excited to see what you choose, and we can't wait to bring you another unforgettable story in our next video.